I'm tired. Who else is tired?
Me, no.
Everyone.
Yes, this is the tired gaming thing. We game, we sleep. Yeah. Anyway.
Thanks for joining us. Goodbye.
Anyway. Something else that'll put you to sleep. Haha, see what I did there? Xbox One. I loved my Xbox One. Got it about 2000-ish. Played Halo when it came out. Oh, those were the days. Oh, wait. See how confusing this is? Yes, Microsoft has decided they are going to name their new Xbox console after the name that a lot of people refer to, the original Xbox console. Yeah, that's brilliant. That's like the Wii U. I want to point out to Microsoft and Nintendo on this point. Your console name is very important. A lot of people will base whether they buy it or not off the name, because Nintendo should have learned this one. The reason there are a lot of people who didn't buy the Wii U is there is a good contingency of people who don't realize it's a new console. A lot of people just think it's the controller.
Yep.
And with the Xbox, there's going to be a lot of people who don't even realize that it's new, because you're calling it the Xbox One. Now, I understand that they're trying to be pretentious with it, but Xbox Infinity would have been equally as pretentious, and people wouldn't be confused. Yeah. Anyway, if you missed the press conference, I'm going to give you a rundown of what you missed. Really simple. These are the big points you need to know. TV, sports, Halo TV series, Call of Duty, dog. Done.
Woof.
Xbox, go home.
You're drunk.
Yeah, now, like I said, those are the points of this thing. They didn't really say much of anything. In fact, that's the big problem, is they said nothing. Now, they did not talk about the aspects of this thing as a gaming machine, and I understand a lot of people are going to say, well, it's about the console. They need to talk about the console, not the games. A console is a thing made to play games. B, they had a Call of Duty portion. Argument invalid. Things we walked away with other than the stupid. We got the a lot of questions went unanswered, but the one thing that did get answered is the specs of this thing. So let's go over it. Slot loading Blu-ray drive. My big thing on this, one of the big problems with the Xbox 360 was the disc trays breaking really easily. So you've got a slot loading thing, less likely to break. And it's Blu-ray, so if I get one, I could finally start buying Blu-ray movies.
Yay!
We got an 8-core processor. That's nice. I got an 8-core in my computer. It's very lots of multitasking. 8 gigs of RAM, same as the PS4. See, so uncreative, I can't remember it.
See, I also heard that 3 gigs of that RAM is supposed to be saved for the operating system.
It's going to be running Windows 8. That's par for the course.
Yeah.
And that's the other part, is it's going to be on the Windows 8 kernel, so it's essentially a Windows 8 PC with less customization, so if that's what you're into.
So essentially, it's a Windows 8 PC that we can't uninstall Windows 8 and install Windows 7.
Pretty much. Of course, it'll get broken. I mean, this is par for the course with consoles. They've all been... I mean, one of the big things on PS3 in the beginning was the ability to install Linux on the thing, and they quickly removed your ability to do that, but through an exploit, and I think it was Assassin's Creed, I'm not sure. There was one game, there was an exploit that allowed you to get hold of something in the game, in the hardware, and install Linux on it. Anyway, the other point of contention is a 500 gigabyte hard drive that is going to be non-removable. Now, That normally wouldn't be a bad thing. 500 gigabytes is pretty large, except when you point out the other thing we learned is you are going to have to install all of your games. And games nowadays are big. At least 12 gigs to 16 gigs. Sometimes as high as 24 or 30 gigs. So that thing is going to get used up really fast. Now sure, they're allowed you to have
USB
external space. Yes, USB external hard drives. But you shouldn't really need to. Making people install their games just means you're forcing them to buy new hardware quicker or waste their time uninstalling and installing games all the time based on what they want to play at the time.
Thankfully, though, you'll be able to play those games while the game thing is installing. So.
Exactly. So that's not a huge problem. It's mainly getting rid of it. And, I'm here or there. Another thing we know, it will not function without the Kinect 2.0 attached. Now, I want to point this out. This thing is, because it's going to be plugged into your set-top box, it is going to be an always-on machine. So you're always going to have your Kinect on with a camera and a microphone in your house. Now, I don't mean to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but conspiracy theory. Yeah, I'm going to unplug that just because I don't think they're going to do anything with it, but I'm not giving them the chance.
Bill Gates wants to watch you 24/7.
Oh, well, that's actually sexy.
The thing is, it's like, I don't want you to freaking watch me. You know, if you try to turn on that camera and at the time I'm freaking deciding, you know, I'm going to pull my putt a little bit, you're going to get a show, but hey.
Did they post that show to youporn.com and they make money off of you jerking off? Ta-da!
No one wants to see that.
Everyone wants to see that.
Okay,
I
Jim
don't.
wants to see that.
Marky really wants to see that.
Nope.
We're going to get 15 new games. 8 of them are going to be new titles, so and by that they mean completely new IP, or that's what they said. We don't know how true that is. But here's my problem, and something they never said in the show. I actually rewatched this a couple times, the segment. They never said any of these titles are exclusive. And normally, you would expect them to say that. Like, we are getting 15 new exclusive titles to Xbox. They didn't say it. So that lends me to believe that most, if not all of these, are probably going to be cross-platform titles. So, not a huge thing in their favor. And that's about it of what we got in the thing itself. If you think it doesn't sound like a lot, try watching it. That thing took way too long to say nothing. Now, things we got afterwards. Major Nelson has confirmed that it is designed for people to be able to resell their games, and they haven't confirmed anything beyond that. So it's really up in the air as to what it is. Now, a rumor going around now, and this is actually kind of a nice rumor, is that places like GameStop and stuff would actually be paying the fee. When you return your game, they have it deactivated from your Xbox Live account, so you can no longer play it off of your hard drive, and then they have to pay a fee to get a new code for the game to sell to the next person. If they do that, that's kind of cool. GameStop's going to be angry at that because they're still going to have to charge $5 less than a new copy, or they no reason to buy a used copy. But it eats into their profits a bit, and at the end of the day, if the money goes back to the publishers and developers, that's pretty good. But that's just a rumor. We don't know. There's no confirmation on that. No backwards compatibility of any kind. So your arcade games, all of your Xbox 360 games, no, you won't be able to play them on your One. I keep wanting to call it a 720, something not stupid. Now, that leads me to this point. As someone who has a lot of 360 games, and with the 360 being prone to breaking, they better be prepared to do what Sony does, because Sony still pumps out. They are still manufacturing the PS2. Because of the backwards compatibility, it may have been shipped backwards compatibility, but the 360 had backwards compatibility, so they could stop making their Xboxes. But with this, they either need to continue making 360s until the sun explodes, or offer an emulator when they decide not to.
I'm also going to stop you right there. The backwards compatibility was only for roughly 200 games for the Xbox.
Yeah,
So.
like I said, it was shit. The backwards compatibility wasn't very good. It didn't last very long. And the problem, though, I will give it this: the original Xbox does last much more than the 360 does. Now, I also hope this thing is more sturdy, because one of the biggest arguments I've heard about or against PC gaming for people who love their 360s is, oh, I don't want to have to spend over $1,000 on a PC. Yet the person who I know who really champions this, he's been on the podcast before, Neon, he's had to replace his Xbox 5 times. Now, just 5 times 300, which is less than he paid at the beginning, but about what he paid the last time he replaced it. That is, what, $1,500? He could have made a computer that it would be very unlikely to crash on him even once for that money. So with the 360 and to a minor extent the PS3, I find that argument to be completely invalid.
But yeah.
Indie developers won't be able to self-publish. Now this is going to hurt the indie scene a bit, because a lot of people play on console, but the problem we found with the consoles is indie games don't sell very well there. There are some that can make money if they get big. Dust sold very well, Bastion sold well, so we've got Fez sold well. We have examples of games that can do well, but PC is generally the place you want to go with indie, because you're going to reach more people. More people who play PC are looking into indie titles. And my big thing on this is, a lot of people are going crazy about it, but I'm kind of, oh well, because self-publishing on Xbox Live, the arcade, was expensive as hell. You're better off not doing that.
Yeah, a better platform for an indie developer to release on would be Steam.
Yeah, I agree, because while I had heard about some indie games before, and I had tried a few indie games before, not really on Xbox Live Arcade because I really didn't have the money, but a few indie titles actually on WiiWare. Really, I'm trying a lot more indie titles via Steam. And really, the last few months, I've really gotten turned on more into the indie scene and PC gaming than I had before. So yeah, that's really where you're going to get a lot of your indie interest, is on PC via Steam.
Now I want to pose this question, because like that is all of what I just said is all the information we have about this. That's all the confirmed and a bit of rumor. Now, that being said, that was not a lot. They are still letting people speculate, and given how it is shown, that speculation is going to be terrible for the sales of this console, because a lot of people, and there has to be someone in Microsoft telling them this, someone paid to tell them this. People are not rational. A lot of people will make up their minds, I am not buying an Xbox One after this terrible display from Microsoft. And they will they will shut out everything else. They will not want to hear it. They will buy a PS4. They will stick to their PC. They'll buy a Wii U, but they will stay away from Xbox One like the plague, because they don't want to hear it. They have heard enough. And this is my question. I want to get some insight on this. Why are they still letting people speculate this? Have they lost their minds? Because I can't think of how this is good for them.
Well, what I was starting to come to the conclusion is, since they were not answering the big questions, is I don't think they really want to answer the big questions, because I don't think they really want to say one way or the other. And the answers that I have seen that are semi-official, they're striding the fence post a lot, because they know that the big hot topic issues with the next generation of consoles is going to be used games. And it's going to be the always on console. Is it always on? Is it not always on? Will we be required to have an always on connection?
Yeah, the big thing on that, this seems to be the confirmation, because this is what the Microsoft's vice president said in an interview. Is he said they will not require you to be always on, but they will require a connection to the network once per day, or you won't be able to play.
And then they also were discussing things about how some of it would be up to to the developer. And a lot of what I've seen is they're really not straightforward answers. They're not definitive answers. We're getting fence post sitting answers. We're getting safe answers, and these are answers that gamers really want to know, and Microsoft really is not providing them.
And to be perfectly honest, again, you and I talked about this earlier, and with Bulba basically saying they're playing fence post, what they're doing in gaming terms for people who, you know, may or may not know, they're playing politicians, so to speak. They're not exactly confirming what their stand is, but then again, they're not really showing their full entire. They're not really, you know.
Mm-hmm. And that leads to, I think the final thing I have on it is, a lot of people say, oh, they're just holding back their good cards for E3. Now, I want to point out that the people who watched this press conference, those were your true gamers. You're not going to get a lot of casuals watching a press conference like that. The casual people tend to go towards E3 because it's the big name. It's the thing they are familiar with. It's the thing they know. So if they didn't tell you what you needed to know in this press conference, they're not going to tell you it at E3 because that was their time to appeal to the gamer, and they didn't use it. It's also was the time when the spotlight was solely on them. At E3, the spotlight's going to be spread between them, Sony, Nintendo, and it's going to also be on the big publishers. So they would have more of a reason to give you the information in the press conference, and instead they didn't, which tells me I will be legitimately surprised if there is anything of worth out of Microsoft at E3.
My thing is that, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here, because while you've been talking about this, I've pulled up some things.
Mm-hmm.
First off, during the press conference, they actually did say that it would be 15 exclusive titles for the Xbox One within the first year, and 8 of those would be new IPs. So they are exclusively for the Xbox One.
Now, did they say that it was exclusive? Do you have the audio where they said it was exclusive, or is this someone
I haven't
else?
pulled up audio. I haven't pulled up audio because we're in the middle of this, but from what I'm seeing from multiple sources, not just one, pretty much anyone that I've seen is saying that. I will look up and confirm it after the podcast if
I would
need
like
be.
that because I didn't see it, and those multiple sources could just be either quoting each other, and because what I've seen with a lot of this is they're quoting the Wire, and the Wire is interpreting what they're seeing.
I remember talking to Eddie during this, and I remember hearing exclusive when they were talking, and that's why I was like, oh, that's kind of awesome, because that's not something that you see a lot of. And as for the whole thing of them really just showing the console and showing what it does, but not gaming wise, I can understand that, because you have to realize that they gauged the outrage that people had about PlayStation 4 not showing the physical console, not showing what it does, but concentrating on the games, because there were so many people that are like, well, what does it do? Is it going to be able to do this? Is it going to be able to do that? So you have to realize that they pushed it back
a month on the other side.
Yeah, they struck the balance on the other side. So, but if you look at their website, they actually do explain it a little bit more.
But they can't explain it on their website. They have to explain it in the press conference because people aren't going to go to the website. The press conference was
I understand that, but it's the thing that if people would be more intelligent and actually do research,
which is why I said people are irrational. Which is why what we do here, because people would rather have it told to them. People don't want to read.
But here's a great thing that they included that you didn't mention, and I'm going to mention this, is they are going to have a game DVR built into the Xbox One, so that you can actually capture game moments. You can pull them off of there, from what I understand, and post them online. So instead of having to have some complex DVR setup, it's going to already be built into the Xbox for those people that do live streams and people that do YouTube content. So it's built in. So they do have that.
Yeah. Last night we also came up with a really good use for that feature. I can't believe I forgot to mention it, is the idea of using it to catch cheaters or harassers or people like that, because you can just go back and you can record what was going on and send it in going, hey, fix this. So that's a, if anything, I would say that's their one big feature towards the improvement of games that we know of, because you can automatically think of multiple good things to do with that beyond just the idea of streaming gameplay.
Yeah. But it's like there are some plus sides to the console, and I'm trying to be devil's advocate here because I'm still excited for E3 to hear about things. The thing is that they opened up the conference saying that this will be about the console. This is going to be what it's capable of doing. Gaming side of it will be discussed at E3. Like they opened up saying that the games and whatnot would be discussed at E3. So now what they did is they showed the fact that they have Skype on it, that they have Internet Explorer where you can do live search things. They showed the voice capabilities that have been vastly improved for Kinect. Like it is leaps and bounds ahead of where the original Kinect was. They've done a lot of improvement when it comes to the content and whatnot on there because they've tried to do the live TV thing on the Xbox 360. When I worked at their customer support and was training it, they were saying that this is what was going to come out on the Xbox 360, and it never happened and never happened. And we were telling customers that it was coming and coming and coming, and it never did. So the fact that they've said, hey, congratulations, it's finally here, I'm glad that they showcased that in a way. Yes, they should have brought in a little bit more gaming than just Call of Duty and the sports games. That should have been something where they took like, okay, take a 30-minute chunk and talk about the console and what it's capable of. Take that 15-minute chunk to talk about the sports games, and then take the last 15 minutes to showcase not just Call of Duty, like Call of Duty and something else. Like they did show a lot of good stuff, but everybody is so concentrated on the fact that they revolutionized the cable box as the normal thing that I've seen, that they aren't seeing that there is a lot of potential in it. But it's how Microsoft proceeds from here. It's really hinging, even for me, really, on what they show at E3. I'm still excited about it because I've loved the Xbox. It's one of the few consoles that I've owned. Like I've had PlayStations, I've had Nintendo consoles, and I've had the Xbox. And the Xbox is the only one that I have yet to get rid of because I stopped playing it. But if it's going to be like this, I may switch sides over to PlayStation in the future a lot sooner than I thought I would for console gaming if there's going to be like a bunch of added fees and whatnot. Now, if they make these fees that they're talking about on the side of GameStop has to pay them or other used retailers have to pay those fees to sell the used games rather than you have to pay it when you put it into your console, that's awesome. Because let's all be honest here, and I think anyone who's listening to this can admit it, when you see that Call of Duty Black Ops is getting sold for $55 on the shelf used, but they're only giving you $15 cash or $20 to $25 in-store credit, they're making a huge flipping profit. They can afford to take a small hit in a relicensing fee for games if need be.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, there you go. You got that side. We have been the gaming booth. Now, time to go ride that fluffy dragon that is sleep.
What are you talking about? I got indie games to play.
Play us out, Eddie.
Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you next week.